If you've ever wondered if there's life out there beyond planet Earth, then maybe your attention will have been drawn to the existence of Astronomy Ireland. They're a group who campaigns to get people interested in space and astronomy and all that sort of thing. Well, who better to whet your appetite than the world expert who is the guest of Astronomy Ireland at a special lecture in Liberty Hall this Saturday. I'm talking about the man who is also the presenter of the world's longest running TV show, The Sky at Night. Please welcome Patrick Moore. Very welcome. Now, Patrick, we're delighted to see you.
Nice to be here again.
What about tips for beginners? I know that you're going to cover this in your lecture,
yes.
And we don't want to steal all the show, but just to get a few people interested, if somebody goes out and looks at the sky just with the naked eye on a clear night, is it worthwhile?
Well, I think it is. And what I did myself when I was a boy, and that's an awfully long time ago now, believe me.
A little bird told me about a birthday recently.
Yes, I became 70 years old. As I said, I now reached the stage of being a senior citizen. Translation, old coot.
Oh, yes, ridiculous. We'll have none of
that.
I
did, I got an elementary star map. And I went outdoors and I looked up the sky and I made a pious resolve to identify one new constellation every night. And it doesn't take very long. And before long, I knew my way around the sky. And then it went to start going somewhere.
And you did that with the naked eye, did you?
Yes.
No telescope, nothing?
No. The thing not to do is to go and buy a very small telescope. They really aren't any good. If you want optical aid, buy or borrow a pair of binoculars, and they are very good indeed. And don't, for goodness sake, look anywhere near the sun. Anything else is safe.
Oh, really? Yeah. So you don't have to have a huge lot of money to get interested in this?
Well, you don't also, and also don't forget that our organisation, you mentioned Astronomy Ireland,
yeah.
Well, they have a very flourishing organisation, and in point of fact, they have telescopes. And they have public evenings, so if anyone's interested, they'll contact them, they'll see you through.
Were you a very lonesome little boy or something that you started this type of lonesome work?
I was, but no fault of my own, because I was ill an awful lot during my boyhood, so therefore I couldn't play games the way other boys can, which I suppose is why now, at the age of 70, I still play tennis and cricket.
Oh, do you? Well done, that's
Certainly.
Terrific. Yeah. You started, I suppose, really at the beginning of what you might call the space age, didn't you?
Oh, long before that. The space age began in 1957. I began in 1929.
Oh,
you forget how old I am.
Oh,
yes, the space age began in April 1957.
Yeah.
And I began my Sky... the space age began in October 1957. I began the Sky at Night series in April, so I was going when the space age started.
Yeah.
And I feel I span the ages, because the first man on the moon is Neil Armstrong, whom I know very well. The first man in space was Yuri Gagarin. The first airman, and I knew him, and the first airman was Orville Wright, and I knew him.
Goodness
Mind
gracious.
you, he didn't die until 1948. And the interesting thing is that Neil Armstrong, the first man on the moon, and Orville Wright, the first airman, could actually have met. They didn't, but they could have done because their lives overlapped. So
my goodness
I've come a long way since then.
You were involved in that first expedition to the moon. Was it your maps that were used?
Yes, I used my moon map. The moon is my actual subject. I was one of the NASA moon mappers, and my maps were used by the Russians and by the Americans. So.
And you were commentating were you on it as well?
When they were actually doing it, yes, I was doing the BBC commentaries, and I was actually on the air when Neil Armstrong stepped out onto the moon's surface. And that was quite a moment, because remember, there was no provision for rescue. If they'd come down at a faulty landing, they couldn't have got back. And of course, at that stage, no one was quite sure how firm the moon's surface was.
Goodness.
I was sure it was pretty firm, but we didn't really know. So when I heard Neil's voice coming through, the Eagle has landed, that was a great moment, believe me. And I was on the air, so I had to be careful what I said.
Well, I bet you did.
I did indeed, yes.
Was it a moment of great excitement or relief? Or
it was,
what?
From my point of view, frankly, it was relief.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the worst part of the trip over.
Yeah.
So I was very glad to hear Neil's voice coming through.
I should think so. What is so fascinating for you about the moon in particular?
I think probably because it was the first thing I really looked at. You see, when I was a boy, telescopes weren't all that expensive. They are now. And I was able to save up and get a very good telescope for £7 10 shillings, which I did. It cost about 300 or 400 now. Yeah. And I got this. And I think probably the first thing I looked at seriously was the moon. Mind you, because I then looked at the planets too. You know, there are 3 planets on view now, very nicely. There's Venus in the western sky, shining so bright you can't mistake it. Have you seen Venus in the western sky?
No, I have not.
Well,
Could
look out tomorrow and you can't mistake it.
Yeah.
And then if you look into the south, you will see the red planet Mars. And that, of course, the world is less unlike the Earth than any other. You can see that among the stars of Gemini, not very far away from Orion.
Yeah.
And then look into the east, and you'll see the even brighter Jupiter, the giant planet. To find that, follow round the tail of the Great Bear, past the orange star Arcturus, come down to Spica and Virgo, and there you'll see Jupiter. A world so big, you could throw 1,000 Earths inside it and still leave room to spare.
Goodness, unbelievable.
But don't go there, it's all gas.